Today we're going to be talking about the hormones that most people think about, but shouldn't actually, when we're trying to look at how things change, especially in our 30s, 40s, and menopause and beyond. Welcome back to the hormone series. So far in this series, we've talked about hormone hierarchy. We started with stress and cortisol. Then we talked about insulin and blood sugar. The latest episode, we covered thyroid and metabolism. Today, we're finally getting into the hormone most people think of first, and that is going to be our sex hormones, commonly understood to be estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone. They do a lot to change as women through their late 30s, 40s, and into menopause. Even early 30s, I've seen some things changing for women. But what many people don't realize is that sex hormones are actually at the bottom of the hormone hierarchy. They're heavily influenced by the systems we've already discussed. That means when cortisol is unstable, blood sugar is swinging, or metabolism has slowed down, sex hormones are often the last place where symptoms appear. Today, we're going to talk about these things, what these hormones actually do, why symptoms show up during perimenopause, and what really helps support hormonal balance during this stage of life. Let's talk about what do the sex hormones do. Let's start with a quick overview. Estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone all play important roles in the body. Estrogen generally supports brain function, bone density, metabolism, and cardiovascular health. It also plays a role in insulin sensitivity and body fat distribution. Progesterone is often considered the calming hormone. It supports sleep, helps balancing estrogen, and has a stabilizing effect on the nervous system. When progesterone is adequate, many women feel calmer and sleep more deeply. Who wouldn't want that? Testosterone is not just a male hormone. Women produce testosterone as well. It supports muscle mass, strength, motivation, libido, and metabolic health. All three of these hormones work together in a very coordinated way, and when they're balanced, women tend to feel mentally clear, emotionally stable, and physically strong. But in perimenopause, this can change. Perimenopause is the transition period leading up to the menopause. And for many women, this begins somewhere in their late 30s or early 40s. I've even seen it in the late 30s for sure. During this time, the ovaries gradually begin producing hormones less consistently. And one of the first hormones that tends to decline is progesterone. I've actually seen that decline in people in their 20s with all the stress that we have going on in our world. And when ovulation does not occur regularly, progesterone levels can drop pretty dramatically. Estrogen may still be produced, but the balance between estrogen and the progesterone shifts. And this is why many women begin experiencing symptoms like sleep disturbances, anxiety, mood swings, irregular cycles, heavy periods, breast tenderness, and the list goes on and on. So as this transition continues, estrogen levels also begin to fluctuate more dramatically. And these fluctuations can contribute to symptoms like hot flashes, brain fog, fatigue, and changes in the body composition, which is something people get really frustrated about. Why symptoms can feel so intense during this time? Perimenopause feels so challenging. It's because the hormonal fluctuations will interact with the rest of the hormone systems. That's why the intensity is dialed up. If someone already has unstable blood sugar, chronic stress, or metabolic slowdown, the nervous system is already under a lot of strain. Then when sex hormones begin to fluctuate, that is added to that environment and symptoms can feel much more intense. And this is why some women move through perimenopause with relatively mild symptoms, while others feel like their entire system has just blown up in front of them. Often the difference is the stability of the underlying metabolic and nervous system environment. What are the common symptoms women notice? Many women begin noticing several changes during the stage of life. Sleep becomes lighter or maybe more disrupted. Anxiety has been dialed up and increases substantially. Weight distribution shifts toward the abdomen, that belly fat area, and energy levels fluctuate more dramatically. Recovering from exercise actually feels really slow and you feel like you can't do quite what you used to do when it comes to your workouts. Motivation and mood can feel less stable for sure. And it is important to understand that these symptoms are not just about estrogen levels, they're influenced by cortisol, insulin, thyroid function, and your overall metabolic health. So, what is the role of hormone therapy all about? Hormone therapy can be very helpful for some women during perimenopause and, of course, menopause. For example, I see this all the time. Progesterone can improve sleep and reduce women's anxiety dramatically. That alone can be a game changer for people. Estrogen therapy may help reduce hot flashes and support your bone and brain health. That brain fog goes to the wayside if you are on the right estrogen therapy, if it's appropriate for you, of course. Testosterone therapy may support muscle mass and energy in certain cases. I also see this help people, especially women, improve their ability to build that muscle and keep that muscle that they once had or that they already had. Hormone therapy works best when metabolic function is already stable, though. So if someone is severely sleep deprived, if you're chronically under eating and chronically stressed, and you experience terrible blood sugar swings, adding hormones at that stage of the game is not probably going to fully resolve your symptoms. You have to support the foundational symptoms of the body because that is definitely essential to helping and support the hormone process and all the hormone systems, especially during midlife. There are several foundational habits that help support hormonal balance during this stage, and strength training is incredibly important for this. Muscle helps regulate blood sugar and supports metabolic health. Good news. You can throw away your idea of pounding yourself with cardio and the treadmill and the running and the whatever. That is fine if you love to do that, but strength training is going to be way more important at this stage of the game. Adequate protein intake supports muscle maintenance and hormone production for sure. So if you've never really focused on protein, now is the time if you are struggling with some of these symptoms. And balanced meals that stabilize blood sugar, that will help reduce the stress on your endocrine system. And prioritizing sleep allows the brain and hormone systems to rest, restore, recover. That is key critical for you improving your symptoms. Managing chronic stress, easier said than done, supports the nervous system and cortisol rhythms. And these foundational signals help the body adapt to these hormonal changes so you can go through this phase of your life a lot more smoothly. If there's one message I want to take away from this hormone series is this. Hormones do not operate in isolation. They are a part of a larger system that includes the nervous system, metabolism, nutrient status, and overall energy balance. This is how all of my programs are designed to function for people. We need to address all of these things. Sex hormones are often the place where symptoms become visible, but they're rarely the piece of the puzzle. When we support the whole system, hormones tend to become much more stable. And in the next episode, I'm going to wrap up this series by talking about the 5 foundations of hormone health. These are the core areas I focus on when helping women restore energy, metabolism, hormonal balance. And if you found this episode to be helpful, make sure you follow the podcast so you don't miss upcoming episodes. And if you know someone who feels like their hormones have completely changed in the last few years, share this episode with them because understanding what's happening in the body is often the first steps to helping people feel better. Have a great day.